Well, hello. I'm going to be working in my rustic wallpaper journal that I started last week. And, well, it's not live, obviously, because I'm away. And so this is a pre-recorded video for you guys at the usual live time of 8 p.m. Central European time and 7 p.m. UK time. And minus 6 hours, so 2 p.m. on east coast of America. No idea what time it is in Australia off the top of my head, so well, there we go. I have got quite a lot of dies for things like pockets and so on, with the holes on the side for making those things that go into the files, you know, with the 3 holes, etc. So what I've done is I've die cut these anyway, even though this is a stapled book and I don't need the holes, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to score or fold just along that line and turn that into a pocket. So it's already pretty much scored because of the way the die has that edge, and so now I can just fold it. Now this is 300 GSM cardstock and I need to trim because of course this is not designed to be folded in. There we go. So I need to just make it behave. There we go. So that is now the perfect pocket, and what I did is I also cut my covering paper for this one, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop it back into the die, and then I'm going to ink that so that I know where to cut it out, because then that gives me a nice space to be able to have the grey showing over here. So we will be doing that shortly. For this one that has these little file tab things that comes from this die, I am going to be backing the other side with this paper, and again I'm going to cut it so that there is a little border all the way around of the grey paper. And I'm going to be attaching it to my book using washi tape. This is some of the latest washi tape from Funky Fossil, and it's from the Breaking News set. So that's what I'm going to do there. And then for the pockets to go in these file tabs, I've got these tickets. Then I have these bigger tags for the big pocket, smaller tags for the stacked pocket thing over here. And then what I've done over here is I've taken these tags and these circles that are actually quite big and printed them 2 up on a page, so I get same tags but different sizes. So I have lots to play with to be able to build on this page. Then I have die cut this butterfly from beautiful sparkly paper. Remind me not to do that again, because it probably took me as long as it's going to take me to make this page to sit and poke all the bits out. I ran it 5 times through my machine, but because of the sparkly top on this paper, the stuff didn't want to come out, so I had to sit and individually poke these holes out. But I love it, and it goes so gorgeously with the paper, so well, sometimes needs must. And that's because I chose the butterfly, because in my membership area they have the butterfly add-ons, and so I wanted to work with those today as well. So butterflies it is. And then of course I've got these tickets that are already cut out that can be added to. So let's get started on making all these bits to go inside my book. So I'm going to start with inking up this pocket. So I'm popping it back into the die, and then because I don't want to clean my desk, I'm being lazy, I'm going to pop a piece of paper on here, and I'm going to ink. Now I'm going to ink with a brush. I'm using black soot, and I'm inking with a brush because there's quite a drop between the dye and the paper. And the normal applicator tool won't kick into that corner quite so easily. So I'm just really making sure that I get it nice and dark along there. And then we go up the other side. So when I take that off, now you can see where I need to trim to be able to make that nice edge. I am going to have to trim slightly more on this side because it doesn't have that gap. So I need to kind of accommodate for that. So let me get my cutting mat out. And I need my nice new sparkly glasses to be able to see accurately. So this side is the side I've got to calculate a little bit more, and on this side I can just cut straight along that edge. Along the bottom I can cut straight along that edge. It's about a 1/8 difference that I need to take off looking at that gap. So I'm going to kind of gauge about 1/8 over there. It's not rocket science, so it doesn't really matter. Along the top I can just chop that off, and then I will have a look and see if my 1.5 inch punch does that curve for me. So let's have a look, see. Yeah, that is absolutely perfect. What luck is that? So I'm just lining up with the there. Otherwise I would have had to hand cut that, and although it's not perfect, now that fits perfectly on there, and I just have to ink this edge ever so slightly more because this is the side we trimmed off. And I like to ink with this now anyway to get rid of that white core of the paper. So now this pocket is good to go. Awesome. I might need to trim off a little bit more on the sides. Yes, I still need to trim a little bit more off that side. Should have perhaps done that before I inked, but really not difficult to come back with a little bit of ink. There we go. So that is good to go. Now we are going to work on this tabbed pocket idea. So it needs something on the back because otherwise everything is just going to fall through unless you're going to glue another page. If you were putting this in one of those ring binders, you would need to glue another page to the other side. So anyway, and again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work out, this can handle a 1/8 gap before you see the holes there. So this is 3 3/4, so I need to cut it 3 1/2 by 6 1/2. So let's just measure on the back. That is easier, where I can actually see my pencil marks. So 3 1/2 is there, and I'll do 3 1/2 further down, and it was 6 1/2. So I'm going to measure, put my ruler at 6 1/2 over here and cut to the bottom. Let's just get rid of that, and then we do straight along there. So let's just double check that. Perfect. Now I need to ink that edge. Great stuff. So what I need to do is I need to put glue all the way around the edges. I'm going to put some extra glue at the top there, and I'm going to leave it as quite a deep pocket. But before I do that, I'm going to ink this. I'm going to have tape there, so I don't need to ink that side. And then I'm going to ink these tabs, like so. And ink there. So now you can see where the tabs are much easier. Right, now time to glue. So let's get my little glue press going. So I'm going all the way around the edge. I'm going in between these dots. All the way down the side and along the bottom. Then I'm going to line that up. And that should be good to go. Right, I need to pull it slightly this way. What I'm also going to do when I glue this down is I'm going to pop a piece of paper towel just over the top to catch any excess glue that might ooze out like that, because then I don't get glue on my fingers. And there we go. What I did forget to do is add some extra glue under there, but that's fine. So now we have our pockets done. We can still add some things along here. So what have we got in the way of decor? Let's just have a look. See, we've got vertical roses. Do I have any horizontal roses? No, I must have used, I've got horizontal roses on these tickets. So that would actually work really nicely there. So let's take that off and let's see what I've got that I can put up here. What about one of the other tickets? We can have, these are rather big. We're going to have stuff in the pockets, so maybe we don't actually need to put anything there. I can just stencil there. So let's do that rather. But I like this here, so I'm going to pop this the bottom here. And let's put this in place in the book. So what I'm going to be doing is I want to put this butterfly through the page. Okay, so I don't want to be putting tape onto the second page because I need to still access underneath there between the staples. But I need to ink the back of my butterfly because it's going to be a flippy flappy butterfly on the other side. This one I'm actually going to glue down. So let's just ink that because I don't know what I'm doing further on in my book. And let's get my mat out. So it's going to go through like that, so I need to ink the back of this butterfly over here. And I'm inking with the black, so it'll be darker on the edges. And I'm just going lightly on the body so that there's a little bit of contrast and interest, because as I say, I don't actually know what I'm going to be doing yet that far ahead in the book. So that wing is going to be glued down, so I don't need to worry about that. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this butterfly in half, and I'm going to do that by just placing my ruler down the middle-ish and just giving it a bend. Right, now I can glue this in place. I'm just going to check that it will bend. Yes, that is happy. And using this, I'm not putting glue absolutely everywhere, but I'm putting it where it will need it to, on the larger areas, put it that way, so that it doesn't get caught. And tear, because it's quite delicate, although the paper is quite strong. There we go, that should be enough. And again, I am going to put the paper towel over the top. As I flatten that down. So let's do that and close the book, because then we know it's in the right place. And I can give it a good old squish. And I did not put any glue on the antenna, so there let's do that. Right, so we have it glued down on this side and flying free over here. For I might decide to glue it down there too, but at the moment it is flying free. Right, now that I've got that in, I can add my pocket. So I want my pocket around about there. My tape is quite wide, so I need to work out how far over I need it, because I don't want I'm looking at this line here together with the distance of the tape, so that looks about good. Yes, I could take it slightly further over, lining it up with the edge of the paper there. That looks good. Now we find the beginning. And I'm going to use my pokey tool just to lift that edge. There we go. Now, do I want my writing going that way or that way? I think let's have it going this way. I'm going to take it off the edge, top and bottom, and commit, Belinda, commit. There we go. Cool. Now we can chop it off over here in line with the bottom of the book. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of glue. No, it's already stuck. So we will just cut that off in line with the paper again. Easier to cut it this way. Right, so now that I have that done, now I have my page, and of course it needs to come off over there because now it didn't want to flip because it had stuck itself to the page. So we need to just make that behave. And I'm going to do the same over here. So what I'm doing is I'm just trimming right along the pocket, and I'm just making sure that this now finishes off at the top of the page, so that when it's closed you have that full look, and when it's open, well, you just get a little bit. There we go. Now we have our pockety pocket, and we can put this pocket in over here like this. But before I can do that, I need to glue this down. So let's pop some glue on the pocket. And put it in the middle. So I can have this down at the bottom and then have something else at the top. I can repeat this, for example, over there, which is what we've got over here. So I like that. And yes, that will still work. I don't want it sticking out of the bottom there. I don't want it sticking off the edge. So that is looking good. And something that I learned the other day, I always stick my sides down and then the bottom up, but this one doesn't really matter. But what you can do is take a little bit of tape. Could be sticky tape, could be any tape, you're not really going to see it, and pop it on that bottom tab, because then when you slide your pockety or your tag or your whatever it is in, it's not going to get hooked up on this edge. Okay. So now I can go ahead and glue my pocket, and this edge needs to be trimmed away as well. Because that was not intended to be inside the pocket. I'm going to give a little bit of glue. Right, so now that will go down first. So I'm going to probably don't need to use such wide washi tape, but it's what I have on my desk, easy to grab. And now we drop the side pockets down. There we go. So I'm gonna have that there because that mimics that there. Now I can prepare all my tags that are going to go in here and in there. Next we have to trim this tag down to fit in this pocket. So this tag was designed to go in something like that and stick out, but because I have this page added to this page, I can't have this page pocket sitting up, so I have to trim it off to be able to fit in the pocket, and so I'm going to trim it round about there. And the joy of this ruler is you just get to line it up along the edge, and chop. Now I just need to re-ink that bottom. And let's see where we're at with all the stuff in our pockets. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to use this red tag. I wanted to use it as a pocket going that way, but it's slightly too long, and I kind of feel if I trim it off that it's going to lose its character. So I've decided it will work just as well as a pocket going that way. So what it needs is a black edge, and some glue going around. I'm going to put it there, there, and there. And I'm going to put it there. Now for this page, so that will go in there. I am thinking that I will bring the roses in again. So I'm looking at putting that there. And we can possibly have this butterfly. Where did that go now? Sticking over the edge. Like so, and it has that butterfly on that side. So what I need to do is darken that edge there. Right, that should be dry enough for me to put that in, so I can see where we are there. Yes, that's working. I'm gonna pop that here, and then I think I'm going to call this page done. And that strange noise in the background is my neighbor vacuuming. My membership area students on a Friday are used to hearing that noise in the background because, well, I cannot work out what her cleaning schedule is other than she vacuums at least 3 times a day, even on Sundays. And here in Germany, you're not supposed to make a noise on a Sunday with things like vacuums. So let's just see if I can get that not to stick out of the book, but like so, and that works. So I'm going to pop some glue around that edge, along that edge, and I'm going to slide a little bit of glue in there. Because that just gives it a little bit of interest. So we have pockets, tickets, tags and tickets. Now at this point I could put some ribbon, and I have got this one, but I feel it's a little thick and I don't have a thinner black ribbon at the moment. Plus this is all I have left, which I don't think will be enough for 3 tags because it actually uses a fair amount. I would need probably that just for those 2, and I've got that one as well. So I think for now I'm going to leave it without ribbon and call that done. So we have tag, tags, tickets, And I really like that page as it is. Of course, we could add stenciling and stamping to all of these things, but for today I was just playing with the bits and pieces that came with the kit, plus these extra pieces that came with the membership area. So that's it for today.